Aangen is a Sanskrit word meaning courtyard of a home, a shared space where people come together in community, support, and care. At Aangen, this spirit lives on through our mission, creating sustainable, community-rooted solutions that uplift individuals facing social and economic barriers, locally and globally. Aangen's roots trace back 4 generations to Mataji, Gerbin's great-grandmother. Each Wednesday, Mataji opened her home as a sacred space for meditation, healing food, and Ayurvedic remedies, welcoming all who needed comfort, connection, and restoration. In 1978, amid the unrest of the Iranian Revolution, rebel soldiers stormed Gerbin's school bus, shattering windows and holding her classmates at gunpoint. As the only child who spoke both Farsi and English, Gerbin stayed aboard to translate, determined to keep everyone calm. In that moment of fear, her path became clear. She was meant to help others feel safe. After years in boarding school in India, Gerbin returned to Iran, only for her school to be bombed during a time of escalation in the Iran-Iraq War. In 1987, with nothing but a small suitcase, her family fled through the mountains to Turkey, posing as tourists. Her father secured Gerbin's visitor visa from the Canadian Embassy, and together, Gerbin's family began a new chapter in Toronto, driven by courage, survival, and hope. Adjusting to life in Canada meant cultural and academic shifts, but Gerbin advanced quickly, skipping grade 12 and entering grade 13 before attending York University for her undergrad. While studying pre-law, her father passed away suddenly at the age of 47. The experience of navigating the legal system with her mother in the wake of her father's death left her disillusioned with the idea of justice through law. After deep reflection, she changed course and pursued a master's in international relations. Gerbin pursued a master's in international relations, hoping to make global change. But as she studied conflicts like the Iran-Contra affair, she grew disillusioned by the corruption behind diplomacy. She returned to Toronto feeling hopeless, until an unexpected encounter with a neighbor shifted everything. A neighbor invited Gerbin to volunteer at the Scott Mission, where she reluctantly began peeling potatoes at 5 a.m. But over time, she fell in love with feeding people, sharing stories, and offering care. One morning, she met someone who got paid to help others. He was a social worker. In that moment, something clicked. This could be her path, too. To understand how real change happens, Gerbin pursued a master's in social work at the University of Michigan. At her placement with the Michigan Department of Social Services, she reviewed grants for agencies across the state, often staying late to help applicants strengthen proposals and navigate red tape. It was there she realized changing lives meant changing systems, and she could help do both. When coworkers joked that she was giving away all the money, Gerbin asked, "Isn't that the point?" She began to question why those closest to the need weren't leading funding decisions. With her supervisor's support, she traveled across Michigan to conduct focus groups. While listening to frontline workers, the message became clear. The answers were already in the community. Policy just needed to follow. In one focus group, at the height of welfare-to-work policies, a frustrated service worker said, "If you don't fund us, I'll be in the client's seat tomorrow. How is that sustainable?" Gerbin couldn't sleep that week. The message was clear. If we don't support those doing the work, the system can't survive. Unable to sleep, Gerbin created a vision board with one driving question. How do we deliver real-time support without relying on shifting political agendas? In social work, you're taught to work yourself out of a job. That's only possible when people get help when they need it, not months later. She thought of her father, who had been a businessman in Iran, who supported his workers through life's challenges. No red tape, just action. After finishing her master's degree, Gerbine moved back in with her mother in Toronto while she navigated her next steps. Frequently, she would join conversations between her mother and the local women who shared how isolated many newcomer immigrant women felt and how few knew their rights. They wanted to build something rooted in safety and dignity, with Gerbine at the helm. She hesitated, still working on U.S. policy contracts, until an idea struck. What if it didn't rely on grants, but sustained itself through impact? "Give me 1 year," she said. Her vision had a name, and it was already beginning. They started small, gathered in a living room, each woman leading a workshop. Gerbine taught communication, others led sessions on healing and empowerment. Guests paid by donation. Then came the tea, Ayurvedic blends from Gerbine's great-grandmother's recipes. They blended spices, filled trays, and set up at the St. Lawrence Market, sharing their mission with anyone who'd listen. All proceeds went straight back to the community, and people loved it. Not long after sharing their story at the market, a guidance counselor reached out. An 18-year-old girl was facing a forced marriage and needed urgent help. There was no time to apply for funding or wait for approval. Aangen responded immediately, raising what was needed, packing a bag, and getting her to safety. It was one of the first times their vision became reality, meeting a critical need in real time. By 2005, Aangen had outgrown Gerbine's mother's home. With her share of the family inheritance, Gerbine bought a duplex, living upstairs and dedicating the main floor and basement to Aangen. Workshops continued. The teas remained a staple. And then, in 2008, something unexpected happened. Gerbine walked into a cafe with her teas. The owner asked if she knew where to get farm-fresh eggs. Gerbine offered to bring a dozen from her mom's rural community. The next week, the cafe asked for 5 dozen, then 10, then more. One simple question turned into a new idea. If one cafe needs fresh eggs, don't others? Since 2006, Aangen's global work has grown alongside its local programs. Wherever Gerbine traveled, even on family vacations, she carried funds and a commitment to meet real needs wherever they appeared. In countries like Cuba, Mexico, St. Lucia, India, and Roatan, her visits often became opportunities to meet urgent needs. Because no matter where the work happens, the mission is the same. Meet the need in front of you, in real time, with heart. A workshop on gender-based violence sparked a new mission. Ensure girls in sub-Saharan Africa don't miss school for lack of period supplies. In 2010, Aangen launched Send a Girl to School, a program providing reusable pads and underwear to girls in India, Nigeria, Kenya, Cameroon, and beyond. With support from New Moon Pads and other partners, kits were distributed alongside education on health and agency. Then something remarkable happened. Local women began sewing the pads themselves, creating both access and a new source of income. A small project became a thriving social enterprise, still running today. By 2012, demand for farm-fresh food was growing fast, and Gerbine realized perishables were a serious opportunity. But she also learned the hard way. Farm eggs couldn't be sold to grocers or cafes unless graded. With help from farmers, she navigated the system and found trusted suppliers. Together, she and her coworker Heather built the business from $40,000 to $350,000 in just 2 years. This marked a turning point. Aangen was no longer a passion project, it was a full-time mission. That same year, Aangen was referred a woman who had survived extreme violence and trauma. With housing secured, she asked for one thing: a chance to work. Then came a call. An office needed a cleaner. Aangen stepped in, created the role, and offered wraparound support. That one job brought purpose and stability. Soon, more followed, quietly becoming Aangen's first cleaning department. By 2014, the phone rang again. Someone was about to lose housing and needed work. Gerbine said yes. Then she asked, "Do you have more work?" The answer was yes. With farm deliveries growing and cleaning requests rising, Aangen took on a new contract, helping set up beds at an overnight shelter. Soon they had 3 full-time staff and 10 part-time workers, many seeking stability themselves. What began as urgent help was becoming lasting change. In 2017, Aangen deepened its global work through a partnership with Father Charles and Joy Village in Nigeria. Joy Village began as an orphanage, but as more children arrived, it became a vital community hub. Aangen supported the work through yard sales, personal donations, and direct funds, feeding the children, building a community kitchen, and expanding food programs. By 2019, thousands of meals were being served daily, not just to the children, but to elders and the wider community. When the city faced a deadly cold snap, shelters were overwhelmed, and Aangen got the call to help create 1,000 meals a day. With no kitchen and no staff, Gerbine said yes anyway. Within days, she hired 25 people, secured a city kitchen, and launched a full-scale meal program. Later that year, a conversation with Father Charles sparked a new idea. Could Joy Village grow its own food and sustain itself? Together, Gerbine and Father Charles designed a farm model. Half the land dedicated to feeding Joy Village, half to growing market crops to fund the farm's future. By 2019, the farm was thriving, built with global support and essential local leadership. Though political unrest has since challenged its operation, the farm remains a beacon of what's possible when communities shape their own future. Since 2019, the farm has fed thousands and supported Joy Village's mission. In the height of the COVID pandemic, the farm became a food bank for thousands daily. But recent political unrest in Nigeria has brought new risks. Farmers have faced violence, operations have slowed, the situation remains unstable. Yet the work continues. The community kitchen is still serving meals. The farm is protected and poised to restart when it is safe to do so. Through it all, Aangen's role has remained the same: listen, respond, and support local leadership, always with the long view in mind. From a Toronto kitchen table to global partnerships, Aangen has always listened, adapted, and led with purpose. Today, guided by people, planet, profit, and purpose, we've served 90,000 plus meals, created 1,100 plus jobs, and reinvested $2.3 million into local communities, all while keeping donor dollars focused entirely on support. The next chapter: scaling ethical food systems that nourish communities, protect the land, and multiply impact far beyond Canada. We're not just growing food, we're growing a future.